this was far more than a baseball game today. The healing opportunity that was provided here, evident to all that were here, and hopefully people caught the telecast. I wanted to open the place up. Like, we are a family. This is the Florida State University family. This campus, the athletic facilities, wound tight here, and we wanted this moment pregame. That was probably 30 minutes. I wanted any student, staff, faculty, all of them to walk onto that field. And you don't get opportunities to walk onto the field. And I think about the kids, and some of those kids were seniors. So, this is the back end of their senior semester in some cases. And I wanted to provide a positive moment for them, or 30 moments. The Chiefs, I can't say enough about what they bring to the table for Florida State and college athletics, and for David Plack to rally and get a group together to stand there and play more than the anthem. The first responders, their response, from the crowd's response to them, and how that felt to us. Like, I felt it, and I hope they felt it, because when you're running into a situation like that, you know what you're running into, and it takes courage and guts, and that's who you're going to call, and they answered. So I thought the response was as appropriate as it could be. The people that were packed in here did right for the first responders and the people that were in the emergency room that afternoon. So I hope what I felt is what other people felt, and I wish, and I will, I wish I could see what it looked like out there. It looked like there were a lot of students and faculty and people in the outfield, and I wanted them to pour right in. And this is one of those days, let's open it up. So how do you come together and bring together and heal? That's how. Like, that was the opportunity that was presented today, and I feel like it happened.
With having a week off, and then the way that game started with the crowd that was in the stadium, just how proud were you of the guys and the way they kind of dug in and responded with those back-to-back 4-run innings?
Yeah, very out of sync for the first 3 innings of the game, quite frankly, as bad as we've been. And I've told our team this before, and it's hard to put into context. When you add moments to the events, there is a pressure to deliver a result, and we talk about it. Like, people are here today, and you don't get many opportunities, so you want to put your best foot forward once the game starts, because that aspect is important too. And Gage, I think the diving catch and the throw to the plate and the 3-run homer, we needed something big, because it was out of sorts. Like, I did not feel a rhythm to the game, and maybe that's expected. You guys have covered this a long time, and we haven't played in a while, and it's unusual to put this sport down, and the fine motor skills and the things and the feel of the game did not seem to be there. And that's a really good team. You look at their record and what they've done. They were in here last year, they won 40-something games and are in the regional, and they're tough, well coached, and they push you. We couldn't finish, we couldn't punch them out, and 0-2 hits, and but finally that was a big moment. And I thought Chase, the play in center field from the left field, I mean, how often do you say that was a great catch in dead center by the left fielder? And we were playing, we have different shifts, so we were 27 feet shifted in center and 21 feet shifted in left. So it wasn't as much as you might think to create like that kind of gap, but then his base running and the double and the base stealing and just the energy, and I think the pressure it puts on the other team. Then you see the throw into left field by the catcher. There's just things that happen because of that dynamic get up and go. Max's home run big, and then you needed somebody to separate. And I've sat here how many times about we have to find ways to separate. And then Carnes, I think we finally got our 0-2 hit. Carnes, the 3-run homer. So got out hit. In some respects may have gotten outplayed. But the physicality, the ball over the fence, the timeliness, the base running, the base stealing, you were able to not play a complete game and still find enough in there to beat a really good team.
It's one thing to want to make a gesture like you did in pregame, but the manager part of you knows routine's such a big part of sports. Did you wrestle with that at all, or was it not much of a debate?
I didn't want anybody to get hurt because when you're out of your routine, there's a time frame to everything you do that leads up to the game. I haven't changed that in my program in 15 years. So all of a sudden, you know there's going to be different things that are going to happen, and how are the guys going to finish off like their base running stuff that we usually do in right field when we're at home, and sometimes on the road left field, like what to get the arms loose in the base running, and we haven't played. So the manager side of me, that was my concern. I knew the readiness to play was a factor. I could just sense that even yesterday in practice, just not quite as sharp. But then the preparational pieces and the timeline that we knew we had to create, that was my only concern. But these guys, they're smart, and they want what's right, and they did not want to take infield outfield because then they thought they might be a little more rushed to get back in here, quick bite to eat and get out. They knew they wanted more time, so they chose not to take infield outfield. And they almost built in their own mechanism to try to prepare, because our last meeting of the day, scouting, and then also what is the timeline going to look like. So you guys are playing. What do you think leads you into the game safely? So that was my concern, was just them, somebody not pulling something because we were out of sorts.
How did the team come together Thursday and in the aftermath of that, and not finding out obviously the series is going to be canceled? And how do you manage? I mean, a weekend, it's not often on Thursday you're not going to have any games over an entire weekend.
You just go on field, and we have great leadership. The president, Michael. People have to lead. And I talked to our staff today about there's leadership that was displayed in moments where you have not been trained for the specific event that might be in front of you at the time, and you have to make a decision and lead people into the right direction. Then there's decisions once you think through it, what is the right thing for the university community? We knew the right thing was not to come play Virginian baseball. We knew that. The decision by President McCullough and Michael to pause things was correct. Think about what people have been through. The number one thing was, where is everybody? And I'm not a cell phone fan. Like, most of us didn't grow up in the era of that's your line of communication without actually talking on it. So in that case, you actually were able to quickly find out where people are. And it changed my opinion a little bit in some of the online classes that day. You have guys that didn't have to be on campus at that time because they had an online class. Once we find everybody, then you put the parent hat on. Because every one of those parents wants to know that those guys are safe. And, we had a couple, I would say 2, were in a situation of concern, and we stayed with them in contact. And you listen and you follow what the law enforcement and your faculty, your professor and your law enforcement follow their lead. They'll lead you in the right direction, and then we'll make sure we get you where you need to go. That was number one. And we accomplished that, and it was quick. I felt at that time, with all we had been through, the chaos, to try to gather the team, I felt inappropriate because I knew what law enforcement was trying to do to keep people away from this area. And I thought, hey guys, let's all get over here. My gut told me that was incorrect at the time. So once things calmed down enough for me to think, I felt that the right thing was, guys, go enjoy, go be with your family. as a parent, at that moment, all you want is your child there. So they got to have Easter weekend with their family. Not everybody was able to get where they live, but it did provide that aspect. And you have the family and the fellowship that helps heal. So that's how that played out. And we paused things athletically, which is the correct maneuver. And we regrouped yesterday and practiced. So that's how that played out. And I did my best to talk to the team yesterday about the entirety of the event and to be respectful of the people that were there to keep this thing from not being worse, and to understand what your parents probably felt like as this was unfolding when they didn't know. There's time that elapsed for everybody where you really don't know where your loved one is at that moment. So we had a long talk Monday.
Going off what you said in your opening statement, there's a lot of guys in the dugout, a lot of folks in the stands tonight that never lived through anything quite like these last few days. How important was it to give them a sense of normalcy?
I wanted it more than anything. I really did. And normalcy didn't seem like enough to me today. Togetherness. Come out there on the field. Like let's all be in this together. So I hope that it was a positive experience for all involved. It felt like it to me. Like I felt it, and I think the kids on the field and the band and our team and Stetson's team, I think it served a healing purpose to step through a very difficult situation.
We saw you mentioned Stetson. They had the FSU strong patches on, not just as a coach, but as a representative of the university. To see that support from a competitor, how meaningful is it?
Well, when you're on a college campus and you run a college program, and you think of sometimes the vulnerability of that, it means a lot. And I think running that program, you put yourself in the shoes of us and how difficult that might have been. So how can we provide, even though we're the opponent, what's the appropriate measure to try to provide a healing facet to the experience today? And Steve Trimper, Classic, did it. Like what they did was correct. And he told me, Link, I'll do anything you want to do. Like whatever we need to do today, we'll do it. And they were here last night. It's kind of a tough midweek trek, to be honest with you. So they've got a long ride. So they were here, and he was very cooperative.
You were talking to Eduardo Perez during BP. I don't think he gets to do many regular season college baseball games. Just how appreciative were you for him to take kind of the time out of his schedule to come?
One of the best teammates ever. I was a freshman. I did not have any idea what I was doing. Probably shouldn't have been out there. He was a leader, a mentor, locker room, ran it, helped me. So did Pedro Grifol. So did the older guys, Chris Roberts. Like I can go on and on about how the older guys helped me learn. He's one of the best baseball minds anywhere. His daughter goes to school here. So he felt all the things we've talked about, he felt, and we checked to make sure his daughter was okay, and his daughter actually went to Randy's. You know, the kids sometimes want to like go somewhere different, not in the dorm. To listen to him talk about carving out the time to be here. He's driving his daughter home tonight to Miami. He has a 7 a.m. podcast, I think, in the morning, and then a 10 a.m. commitment, I believe, on TV, and carved it out, and was in Houston and did the Houston, I think it was San Diego game Sunday night. When you look at his schedule, the class and the want to do this, he's just a phenomenal human being. And when you walk in here and those older guys kind of take you and show you the ropes, that gets started when I was 18 and he was 21 years old, and this is how it needs to be done. And that stuff sticks with you. So it's more than just Eduardo's commentating on our game. This is deep stuff, and he did not have an easy path to the booth today. He did not. So a huge thank you. And I thanked him in my interview, like, hey man, like, I know how hard this was. Thank you for doing this. And he's a Seminole, and every other Seminole appreciated the fact that he was here. So in BP, we were talking about Miles a little bit and Chase, just some things, and it was brief, but it was bigger than that for me with him.
You guys, such an emotional week, obviously, and then you guys are struggling early and you're down. Max hits a home run. He's an emotional guy anyway. How do you handle that as a, do you feel like a parent in sometimes in situations like that, like helping guys understand how to channel emotions?
Yes, and we haven't done a great job of that. Of all the things I thought my teams of the last 10 years would be, exuberant and emotional probably wasn't something I saw, but man, they want to play so well and so hard that they fight for everything. And I don't know the entirety of the story. I saw, and you know, when those umpires, I know those guys, and there were things that happened, and they said, Coach, we don't really have a choice. And okay. So you know, we've got to learn how to manage those things better. And I didn't want it to get worse. So I just wanted Max, I just wanted to try to calm him down, and he needed to go and not be visible, and or things get worse. So unfortunately, that's where we are, and I don't know the fallout of that. But it was a big home run, and you know, I'm sorry that it led to more.
There's